New 72 Radio, the voice, views, and visions of the collective.
From working with you, I felt inspired to hear about your pathway in your journey as a woman to a teacher and to all the wisdom that you impart on the women that you work with, from girls to women, and what that journey has looked like. And I made you take a few notes.
Okay.
So just learning about your background and what you have cultivated along the way, just as a background of what you offer to the world and what you are continuing to bring into the world.
Right. Well, it's been a long journey now, as I've moved through many cycles of life, including, mothering and now grandmothering. I have a 16-year-old grandson and a 12-year-old granddaughter. And my sense of calling really became conscious to me when I was about 12 years old. So the journey of following the calling and the path of awakening from the different experiences that I had originally that gave me the impression that it would be better to be unseen and unheard than to be visible and to have a voice. And so even though I had that really powerful sense of calling, like I knew I was here for a reason, and that there was a calling on my life. And for me personally, it came as a sense of wanting to connect with what I had been told is this spiritual presence on the planet that is God. But for me, what made sense was this idea that God is love. And so I began that path of seeking to experience not only the human love in relationship with myself, others, and life, but to experience the divine love that flows through all things. And so I had that anchor within myself, and yet my experience was through, that early programming, imprinting, conditioning. My experience was that my power, my wisdom already there, present at 12 and younger, couldn't be seen by the people who were holding me, and the culture that I was living in, and the school that, the children that were around me. So even when I would express my power, it wasn't really reflected back. And with enough of those type of experiences, with either being just like ignored or just not received, my system just began to cover up in order to blend and to fit in and to participate in a way that wasn't so painful.
And that was at age 12.
Yeah, by 12, I was already dimming my light and covering myself. And I covered myself not only just energetically by kind of pulling my energy back and staying kind of in the background of things, rather than stepping forward into my leadership, which is actually a really natural state for me. Like I pulled back.
And then how does that relate to as your 12-year-old self and bringing it forth into what you have shared with all of the girls you've worked with and all of the women you've worked with?
Right. Well, on my journey to recover my essential self, it's a healing journey of recovery. And initially, of course, I wanted to, when I found my way back to my power and to my gifts, I wanted to be a facilitator for other women initially to find their way back to their bright light within and their unique gift to contribute. And so my journey was, in terms of development, my education, like I focused on psychology and women's studies, and eventually a master's in creation, spirituality, and a doctor of ministry. Like I just kept following the outer pathway to develop myself as a healer and a facilitator for others. And a pivotal moment for me on my path of awakening and transitioning from development into leadership and into teaching was came through a visionary experience. And that was the moment when I experienced a connection with what I would describe as the great cosmic mother, the divine feminine.
Wow.
And this experience was not one I was seeking. I was the last thing that I was thinking about. I was actually on vacation. And I thought I was, just resting and recovering and strengthening. But I had a powerful experience of being called into her presence. And the way that the vision unfolded, this incredible being it's hard for me to give language to this, but I'm going to try to describe it. It's like the cosmic feminine principle of the universe presented itself to me in the form of a woman that appeared, and she was much larger than myself. And in fact, in this vision, I was a girl.
How old were you in the vision?
Probably right around that age, exactly that age. So right around 12 or 13.
Okay.
And this is the time when, in my own history, her story, I actually did have my first moon, my first menstrual experience was right around that time. So in the vision, this goddess-like figure actually initially kind of saved me from following a path that was like a path of disempowerment, of allowing others to just take what they want from me, and feeling like a victim.
You had this fork in the road that could have led to a path of disempowerment, not trusting your innate intuition, or a path of empowerment.
Yeah, and not only my innate intuition, but my sovereignty in my own, as the leader of my own life, and my body.
Wow.
Knowing that my body is mine.
Yeah.
And so she was an intervention for that girl in the vision. And she pulled me into another experience. And the experience portrayed itself as she beckoned me to enter into a cave.
Wow.
And to follow her down into the earth and into this incredible crystalline, sparkling space inside. And I found myself there. And in this vision, I was looking up at this powerful feminine presence. And she just said the words, and they still echo through my being to this day. She said, "This is not the way it should be," or "That is not the way it should be." Referencing that pathway. That I had the choice, and that I was teetering on the edge of just feeling like a victim and following the other path. And she said, "That is not the way it should be." And then she initiated me into what I call sacred womanhood. She gave me the missing rite of passage that I didn't experience when I was physiologically going through that time in my life. I mean, at that time in my life, I think I told maybe 2 people, and it was not something that was discussed very openly. And then in the vision, she said, "Now I'd like you to go out and bring your girlfriends back to me so they too can have this experience."
Wow.
And I remember just feeling like so totally okay with myself. I felt like it was perfectly fine to let people see me, to hear my voice. I felt confident. I felt free to be authentic, freely myself. And then she instructed me to go out and bring the other girls back. And I knew when I came out of that vision that I was being told what the next phase of my calling was to be, which was to go physically find girls and bring them to this experience of a conscious and celebrated rite of passage from girl to woman, and to educate their mothers.
And that's what you initially created with the young girls.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Maiden Spirit is the name of the program.
Yeah.
And that program has been running now for almost 20 years. So it's been a ripple effect through the field of blessing and empowerment for women and girls.
So from that initial vision that you had, coming back to your child, your 12-year-old self, you then brought that vision out to other young girls and created a training program for them. of empowerment and choosing that path, similar to how you did. And now fast forward 20 years, what are you bringing into the world now that you've brought so many blessings to these young girls?
Right, you're picking up on that original idea that purpose is like an evolution.
Yeah.
Like the expression of calling, it transitions over time.
Yeah.
And there was a time, and this is where I was contemplating, what does it mean to be empowered?
Wow. Well, how perfect. Right?
Yeah. And I was thinking of different times in my life, and it's easy to feel like one has power and choice when everything is kind of already in place.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of following the pattern that's been created or that you've created.
Yes.
But it takes a lot more strength and courage when your authentic calling takes you out of where you are into the unknown again.
Yes.
And to the place where, even though as beautiful as it has been, it is no longer authentic. Like there's a new wave of expression that's calling. And that's where, when I think of the word empowered, it implies that it's already happened. Like you've already got the power.
Right.
And my experience of being an empowered woman is that you're never fully empowered, because there's always going to be another realm where you have yet to experience a full manifestation of your sense of choice, because we're evolving beings.
So it's an ongoing process, a moment by moment choice.
It's a moment by moment choice, and so I would say that I'm more of like self-empowering woman.
A self-empowering woman.
Yeah, rather than an empowered woman. I can look back and say, yes, I was empowered, but who empowered me?
Yeah, who did empower you?
Well, ultimately, seeking outside myself to be empowered was a very disappointing. Actually, that contributed to the shutting down of my light.
Yeah.
The seeking outside for the approval and validation and guidance.
Yeah.
And so being a self-empowering woman for me really means when things are difficult, when things are challenging, when we don't know where we're going, or we don't have a clear sense of how to get to where we're going, and we don't have like a feeling of safety or security as we're stepping out of something that has been known, that's where the self-empowering woman becomes actualized, is in those moments when the tendency is to fall back into the old feelings of powerlessness or that childhood state, of like it's unsafe to be seen or heard, or to step out into this unknown place.
So tuning in moment by moment, even in those most adverse times, is what for you is what a self-empowered woman is, and following that innate knowing.
Yes, and there's many dimensions of self. So there's many dimensions of self-empowering woman.
Yeah.
First of all, just having an empowering relationship with self is so fundamental.
Yes.
And then, of course, even within that, we're multidimensional beings. So having a self-empowering relationship with our physical bodies, with our emotional needs, that's a huge one, to actually have the self-empower to choose. Because for me, the essence of empower means the freedom to choose.
The freedom to choose.
Yeah, the freedom to have even the awareness that there's something that's not working, that something's off, or that there's something new calling. So the self-awareness first.
Yes.
And then from that place, the courage and the freedom to unshackle oneself from the known, or from those patterns that are, or those relationships, or whatever it is that's causing a collapse in our sense of self-expression, freedom, and to, take the shackles off.
Yeah.
And our emotional being, we have so little education for how to be present for all our emotions. My experience has been is that that's really where people get pulled out, where women get pulled out on a daily basis, of actually taking the steps. Because empowered also implies, for me, empowered also implies that we move beyond the inspiration. We move beyond the perspiration, the hard work involved of preparing to make changes or to create, and we actually do it. It's the action.
The action. It's
the movement from inspiration to action. And there's a lot that comes up for us in between inspiration and action, and a lot of it is emotional.
I see. So understanding the emotional, all of our emotional needs, our emotional landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah. And taking that inner knowing and then moving out and forward and bringing it out.
Right, and kind of getting a lot more compassionate and embracing of the feelings that are so uncomfortable to stay present for. Mm-hmm. So for example, stepping out into an unknown project where there's lots of uncertainties and, mm-hmm. Where's the funding, where's mm-hmm. all of this? It's only natural that the body would have a reaction to that with some anxiety
right.
and fear.
Right.
And if we're pushing that away and wanting to pretend that doesn't exist, then that actually, we become shackled. Because without the ability to stay present with what comes up on our way to empowered action,
right.
We'll get stuck in the loop and we'll wait. We'll find reasons not to do it. We will have
the resistance will come
up.
The
resistance will come up, and we'll just think of all the things that need to happen first, and we just won't take the step to move into the inspired, the actual concrete actions. So for me, a self-empowering woman has a conscious and compassionate relationship with her emotions and doesn't run away from them even when they're extremely uncomfortable.
Wow.
And in fact, they get extremely uncomfortable the closer we get to something really important or really profound in our development or our ability to contribute.
So in your pathway from working from young girls and now all along the path as you've been not only listening to your inner guidance, but then really acting from a space of inspired action, what tools would you give to any woman seeking a self-empowered state of being? What tools do you use to access that self-empowered sense? And what are you bringing to the world now from this whole journey of living as a self-empowered woman?
Great questions. Well, the fundamental tool that is a priority for me, the highest priority, is actually pulling off the rapid river of to-dos and action and stopping everything.
So stopping
the river, and becoming truly feminine, absolutely going into that completely receptive space.
And how would a woman that has 5 million to-dos and obligations with kids, job, relationship, how would she just stop? Well, how do you just stop and go into receptive and turning off like the monkey mind?
Well, it's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse not to do it because it can happen for 5 minutes in the shower. There's no time issue. We can always make time for anything that we prioritize. Yeah. So I think fundamentally we have to prioritize that sense of commitment to manifest our calling, our purpose in life. That has to become the highest priority. Okay. And when you put that priority in the front of the bus, everything else lines up behind it. Yeah. And it's like, as feminine and powered, beings, we want to recover our femininity, right? We want to recover our receptivity, our ability to be that sacred container. Right. And yet an empowered woman is both. Yes. She carves out the space. She uses her own, we'll call it masculine energy. Okay. But it's a protective, assertive, pushing kind of energy that says, wait a minute, this is important. Yeah. I'm going to take 5 minutes. I'm going to take 15 minutes. Yeah. I've worked it up now to an hour. I do an hour of meditation a day. And I want to tell you, I call it my daily miracle.
Yeah, I love that.
It is my daily miracle because I have a huge to-do list. I have so much that's calling me. I have responsibilities. I get up early. Yeah. I get up really early.
So you start and you say the first step to being a self-empowered woman is stopping the river.
Well, prioritizing.
And
then stopping the river.
Becoming receptive.
Yeah, and receptive to your source, your inner source of inspiration, and you might call that your authentic self.
Okay. To the inner authentic knowing, to So that, maybe that, have you ever had that gut feeling or that like physical feeling like, I just, maybe listening to that?
Absolutely.
So then, as a self-empowered woman who's making that commitment to showing up for her highest self and is receptive to this inner knowing, what other keys would you share with women on what it means to be self-empowered, as you say?
Well, I guess one of the keys is to recognize that there is no perfection. Like, as evolving beings, we're always going to be on the edge of our own evolution.
Okay.
And so to completely like delete any kind of have to or shoulds about where we should be on our path of awakening and empowerment, and instead look at every moment and say, how can I love this moment? How can I love myself and what I've created so far? Even if what I've created or I'm allowing is, I want to use some words.
You can use it. Even,
crap.
Yeah. Or shit.
Yes. So even if what's happening is really, really challenging,
Yes.
there is a way to find the gratitude within that, which may be even just to have the gratitude of awareness that this is not working for me.
Yeah.
And therefore I have a choice. And that's again where self-empowerment, self-leadership comes in, is recognizing that we do have choice. We might not be able to choose our circumstances or change our circumstances,
Right.
but we absolutely can choose how we're going to relate to them and respond to them, as you know very well. And what often will happen in that space of empowerment within what is and the silence within to receive the inner guidance and knowing, is that we will be shown how to take the steps to change.
I just want to dance because I feel so excited that there's actually, there is guidance always available, and there are tools, and that we each have the ability to live a self-empowered life.
Very exciting. The alternative to that is living, Groundhog Day, if you ever saw that movie,
Yeah.
where the same day repeats itself every day. And I love that movie because every day, the actor, he tries different things, right? He tries to change it like a tiny bit, and then here it is again, the same day. But eventually, he wakes up and he creates a different reality.
Yes.
And so that's the option. We can just be unconscious and repeat the patterns, and maybe they're even working. But there will be a pressure always with that, because we're evolutionary beings. We are meant to not just to be here and belong in what is, but also to become. We have to become. It's the evolutionary impulse. We don't really have a choice. And so if we stay in that place of Groundhog Day, the pressure will build, and we will have anxiety, we will have depression, we will be uncomfortable in our skin.
Okay.
And we may, there's lots of options there. Everyone is in a different state of what we feel like we can, the uncomfortable feelings that we can navigate.
Yeah.
But we do have a choice when we realize it. I always think of Dorothy and her, her ruby slippers.
Her ruby slippers. There's no place like home.
Yeah, but she didn't know that.
Right.
She didn't know that. So that's our journey, actually, every day.
So
is to forget and then remember.
And being present to what is and loving what is.
Right. So it's a beautiful, being self-empowered, a self-empowering woman for me is a very compassionate way to be in a relationship with myself and others and life, from this place of understanding that it's not always going to be fun or easy, and it doesn't even matter, because whether it's easy or whether it's difficult, if my priority is to awaken to the truth of who I am and to contribute what I came here to do, then I give the same amount of love to it. It's like, okay, this is a difficult moment, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to be here, to have this opportunity, and to be gaining access to the tools to be able to evolve myself beyond those patterns that keep me stuck in loops, and disempowering myself through my fear-based and scarcity-based thinking.
Do you think that for women that are seeking to evolve and to know their highest truth and what they've come here to do, that having the tools and resource of support, what tools would you recommend?
Well, if there's whoever's listening right now is a woman who is seeking, who is reaching outside of her space to new information, to new energy. So just that very action, like of just recognizing, maybe I love my life actually, but I also know there's unmanifest potential.
Yeah.
And in order to manifest that potential, I need to be a part of something new. I actually need to experience ideas and information and energy that I don't have. It's like something new has to enter the system. So that's the first step. If you're listening to this recording, you are self-empowering right now.
Yes.
Because you're reaching out to connect with other women who are on the same path of awakening.
Wow.
So that's, just to follow those impulses to connect with other sources to strengthen that part in yourself. And there's a myriad of ways to do that. But, there's the outer support, but the inner process is, to me, the most fundamental. There's so many, everything is available now, right, online.
That's true.
Like in terms of the knowledge. And just strengthening one's ability to turn within and ask the question, like, what is it that I most need right now to feel like I have a choice in my life?
Yeah, I love that question. What is it that I most need right now?
And then be silent. And sometimes the information will come in as words, as thought forms. Sometimes it will come in as just a feeling. For me, often in the silence, the information doesn't drop in consciously. It's just like an infusion of like a loving presence that later unveils itself to me throughout my day, like the actual specifics. It's like getting a present that then is opened out through the whole day rather than just in the moment where I'm being quiet and asking.
Right.
Because we do need to ask. So in that quiet inner focus, we ask. We offer the questions that we have and we ask for guidance. And then the guidance will come in different forms. Some people actually get pictures in their minds. They just get a deep sense of knowing about a next step. And sometimes it's just like a healing that we don't have to even understand. It just happens in that quiet place of inner connection. And, meditation means many things to many people. But fundamentally for me, it's pulling off the river and just sitting still, being quiet, as if your whole being were like ears everywhere. Like you're listening intently to that silent, that silent, not silent, but that very quiet voice of your own inner knowing. And just being present to what's actually moving in you. Sometimes in my meditations, what I discover is that my stomach is filled with, I'm very upset, I just didn't know it. I will discover that I'm actually, I'm repressing some grief. I'm really sad about something, but I don't know it because I haven't slowed down enough to actually be in my body to feel it. And once I have the awareness, then I can invite it into my conscious. I can find out what I'm so sad about and then actually free that energy up.
Yeah.
So, that tool, the inner focus, to me, I just keep coming back to it as the most important. And then in that place, you will receive the ideas, the inspired ideas of which this podcast and wherever this interview goes is a part for you. Those ideas will drop in. And if they have resonance, like deep resonance, then you will find the will. Like you will find that will inside yourself to prioritize it and start to feed energy into it. Yeah, and then it will start to manifest and grow. And then it will take on a life of its own.
Is there anything that you feel in your time here on the earth and what you have learned through your own experiences, through your own radical griefs, disappointments, fear, anxiety, and through the opposite spectrum of miracles and bliss and joy? Is there anything else that you would feel inspired to share with a young girl, a woman, if you were looking eye to eye? with somebody who really earnestly is ready to make that commitment of being a self-empowered.
Yeah. Well, I would say that that I see you. That I see the intense beauty of the contribution that only you can give. And I so want to experience that. Like, it's not an intellectual thing. It's, for me, it's like a deep heart feeling of, like, if the more that you find your courage and bravery to heal past the internal barriers and to face the external barriers, to actualize, to bring out your gift, like, the more beautiful this world will become, the more potential we have as a evolving humanity to make a shift in the way that we are being together on the planet and contribute. Like, you have a piece of the world peace possibility that only you can bring. And your soul has a code, like a specific and very unique expression that the world needs to have to be actualized. And I would just encourage you to know that that's really true. And you know that you actually have access to an inner source of guidance for being able to navigate the inner and outer to bring that into reality. Yeah.
I love how you said that. I see you. Thank you, Georgette.
You're welcome, Jennifer.
Do you feel inspired to share anything else? Anything else that wants to come through about being liberated from our own old conditions, our patterning, into what divinely wants to come through from listening and taking courageous action?
Well, just what a pleasure it is to witness you doing that very thing right now in your life in such a beautiful way.
Thank you.
Very inspiring.
It's I find that when, for a personal journey, it's like surrendering and just letting what wants to come through. I love that journey because it's really not even about me anymore, right? I just get to bring forth what is inspired.
And I can feel in you how essential this is for your happiness.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, I mean, you have it all, right, in a lot of ways. Like, you have the partner that you're in love with, and you have a path of expression that resonates with you, and like, you're financially independent, and you have a lot of things, but there's this other need.
Yes.
And I really feel that in you.
Yeah.
To express yourself more fully and freely, and you're doing it.
And I love how you tapped in on the unmanifest potential, because I really think that we are unlimited and that we're here to bring our greatest potential into this life.
Yeah, the thing that we don't talk about, though, is how hard it is.
You're right. No, it is. And I love, though, Georgette, how even if it's so hard, that there's joy in that difficulty.
Yeah. Right. Being on track, it's like we'll do anything, right? If I know that I'm on purpose, then I can be, you know, it's like I don't give up when it gets hard. Yeah. Because the motivation is coming from such a deep well.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're welcome.